I'm Wesley Paine, Museum Director of the Parthenon, and I'm going to tell you what I do. What does a museum director do? Well, I'm so glad you asked. Most museum directors, I would say, come into this profession, this particular job, with a lot of schooling. Master's at least, probably a doctorate for most people. And that would be either in some sort of arts administration or maybe with an MBA. Maybe if it's an art museum like ours, with a terminal degree in art history, or possibly in history itself. If you get to other museums that have other specialties, science museum or strictly history museum, that might be different. Not a lot, but some. I tripped and stumbled into this work, and I love it. I cannot imagine doing anything else for my bread and butter, because what I do satisfies something inside me that needs to happen, and I feel like what we do is vitally important to the community, for the community, and that community includes not just Nashville, but the United States and the world. I have a degree in theater with a teaching minor in English, and when I was trying to find a job in either of those fields, jobs were not available. So I did, short-term work, continuing to look, and finally someone in the Nashville Parks Department said, I know you want to teach theater, but I have something that might interest you, and you would then know if any theater teaching jobs came up. I said, okay, talk to me. That was the senior position at Fort Nashborough, which was a little 5-building stockade replica of the beginning point of the city of Nashville. I thought that sounded fascinating. It was history, which I love. It was teaching, which I'd been trained to do. And it was costumes. I could do theater, not in the normal way, but in a different way. So I was at Fort Nashborough. We created a living history program. We researched and made costumes. We cooked over an open fire. We ate what we cooked. We talked to people about the settlement, the beginning point of Nashville. And after I'd been there almost 5 years, the director of the Parthenon retired. And on paper, it was a lateral move, and I could choose whether to go for this position or not. It seemed to me to be a really good thing to do. I, once again, was involved with history, but had added art to the mix. Since the Parthenon represents not only the Tennessee Centennial Exposition, but for that exposition it was the art building. So we offer art and history, 2 different eras of history, the 1897 Centennial and the ancient Parthenon, to give people an idea of what might have taken place at either of those time periods, and to the opportunity to encounter beautiful and challenging and thought-provoking art. I've been here since 1979, the summer, and so that's a really long time, and I feel like I have grown up in this job. It was a time when opportunities for schooling in museum work were not very many in this country. In the 70s, there were maybe 2 or 3. Now that's much different, and people can go to school to be a museum administrator of some sort. I have learned on the job, and that's been wonderful, challenging. Most museum directors deal a lot with budget. Because we are part of the Parks Department, many aspects of that piece of a museum director's job I don't have to fool with. I don't have to make sure that we are compliant with federal rules for personnel, because our personnel department handles that. I do have to make sure that my own employees conform to civil service rules and that sort of thing. I see my job primarily as giving the specialists on this staff the time, the tools, and the support they need to do what only they can do. We have 3 major prongs of our operation. Curatorial, which involves our permanent collections and the temporary exhibitions, keeping up with what we own and what we borrow and what we exhibit. Educational department is involved with reaching the people who come to see us and reaching out to people who can't come to offer them a way to understand what we do, what we have here, why they may want to visit, to engage every single person who walks through our door and some who can't, so that their experience here not only is a good one, but inspires them to look elsewhere, to study deeper. And our retail operation. Every good museum has a good museum store that offers some of the best shopping you can do anywhere, and a way to take home a piece of your experience to remind you always of what you have seen. I am usually the face of the museum whenever there's a necessary interview. That's usually me to talk about this building, because I have been here a long time and I know it pretty thoroughly. I also am the liaison between the staff that works only here and the larger park staff, also the liaison between our staff and our support group and their board and their staff, to make everything run very smoothly. Diplomacy is a big thing with a museum director. You deal with all sorts of people: donors, visitors, funders, retail people, vendors, and the goal is for everybody that we deal with to have had a good experience and to be happy that they encountered us. That's what I do. If you think of questions that you want to ask, please do. We're happy to talk to you more about whatever it is we do.